Canadian police are hunting for several suspects who they believe were involved in a series of brazen shootings in the capital. An armed attacker shot a soldier at the National War Memorial before storming the Parliament building moments later. The search is currently ongoing in commercial and government buildings in and around the Parliament Hill area. Tom Ackerman begins our coverage.
The usually placid Canadian capital was thrown into turmoil when gunshots rang out at the National War Memorial near Parliament Hill. The victim, a young reserve soldier on ceremonial guard duty, later died of his wounds. One of the suspected shooters, armed with a long gun, then ran into the Parliament building where legislators were meeting for their weekly caucus. Police chased the man down the corridor while the members of Parliament were ordered to stay inside.
Thought it was dynamite or construction rather than anything else. Suddenly the security guards come rushing down the hallways. Usher is all out to the back of the Parliament buildings.
At least 30 shots were fired until the suspect was killed by the parliamentary sergeant-at-arms.
A guy came from the side on my left-hand side and came out with a rifle and shot at the man, and then the guy went falling down, and everybody was just in shock. Couldn't believe that something like this could just happen or be real. It was just beyond realism.
Meanwhile, a lockdown left thousands of people in downtown Ottawa confined for hours as police conducted their search for one or more other suspects.
The Ottawa Police Service is looking for witnesses to come forward with information regarding the incident that took place this morning.
Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who was in his nearby office, left the vicinity and was reported as never in danger. Canadian authorities have not described the attack as a terrorist incident, but at the White House, President Obama's spokesman said the American and Canadian leaders discussed their concern.
The circumstances around today's tragic events in Canada are still unknown, but that is a concern that the United States has been focused on for quite some time. We've been talking to other countries about steps that we can take in coordination to mitigate that threat. And Canada is one of the countries that has been robustly engaged in those efforts.
Gunshots, everybody out. Gunshot in the foyer.
The incident comes 2 days after a Canadian soldier was run over and killed by a man described as a radical jihadist. And last week, Canada raised its domestic threat level for the first time in 4 years. Meanwhile, members of Canada's military have been instructed to stay out of uniform and keep their profiles low when they're off duty. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera.